Harlech Castle, one of the most spectacular and beautiful castles in the whole of Britain. Standing here, it looks absolutely huge and imposing. If you were coming to attack that castle from the sea, you'd be up against strong defenders and people who would not want you to enter there. But the castle used to be at the edge of the sea, and the waves would crash against the cliff face there. If you stand at the castle, it's clear to see that you are on the edge of the cliff, but it's noticeable that the sea and ground drops away really quickly in front, and today there are beautiful sand dunes where I'm stood now and a beach that is spectacular. If you would have stood next to the castle 700 years ago, the sea would have been right there, lapping against the cliff, and the beach did not exist. But how did the beach at Harlech get created? Edward I, the conquering king of England, ordered the creation of a castle at Harlech, one of his 7 castles in northern Wales that created a ring of stone and tried to impose his will onto the Welsh. The natives hated these sites, and the castle cost a huge sum of money to make. It was garrisoned by 36 men who were relatively well armed, and a castle was built here specifically to keep an eye on seafaring invaders too. Literally, the sea is right in front of me there. There was even a large wall that isolated the castle and cliff from the sea. But from around the 14th century, there were particles of rock and sand which began to build up on the edge of the cliffs here. The wind here blows into Harlech from the southwest, and the waves would wash up particles and sediment north up the coast. The coastline here used to bend inland where a river met the sea, but as the particles began to be washed up on the coast, they collected on the bend, and over time so much material was deposited here that there became new land created that projected out towards the sea. What was created geographically was a spit, a narrow landform that extends into the sea from the coastline. The water between the spit and the coastline was protected from the wind, and over time sand and mud from a nearby river collected, making new marshy land. But what was also made was a beautiful beach and sand dunes. Today, Harlech Castle's watergate, which was meant to allow ships into the castle who would transport goods and resources, is actually about a mile from the sea, making it completely pointless. But it shows you how the landscape here has changed over time and how nature has created a beautiful and spectacular beach. The fact that Harlech was right on the coast was key for the castle, and it was one of the reasons why this site was chosen to make a castle here. If it was besieged like it was in 1294, the English inside would survive, as they could bring in food by boat through the watergate and through a guarded stairway that allowed them to be well protected. Today the castle, because of the beach, which has emerged, would be a lot easier to attack than it was in the 13th century. Today, as people of the 21st century, we're constantly warned about the changing earth and how we must do our own bit to protect it for future generations. But here, a beautiful beach was created from nothing, and today it is a remarkable place to come and visit. Like, I'm stood on the sand dunes and look at that view behind me. These were all made as well. When I came here as a kid, I must have been sort of 7 or 8 years old. I still remember that day, and this is the first time I've actually been back since then. Over 20 years, 2 decades later, and Harlech in northern Wales is still taking my breath away. But yeah, a beach that nature made for us to enjoy. Some spectacular sand dunes as well. It's like a little mountain range in here.